All right, so we're gonna rebuild this bucket. This is a bucket off of a Kubota, what is this, a B2150. This thing is 23 years old, and it has seen a lot of use. So there is 1,485 hours on this machine, and this bucket has never been removed. Not once has the bucket ever come off this tractor. The front loader's never been removed, the bucket's never been removed. So this thing has been used and abused. It has some minor repairs on the top edge. There's a piece of angle iron slid up underneath of there and welded in place. Gives us a little more rigidity, and we were able to straighten out the upper edge. But as you can see, the light coming through the back of the bucket here, about half of this is completely worn through. This tooth bar makes it so you can't back drag and use the cutting edge, so you end up using the back of your bucket. Achieves the same goal on the ground, but it wears out the back of your bucket really fast. So we're gonna get this down, flipped over, get it all cleaned up, and then we're gonna go ahead and put on some chain hooks. We've got a couple chain hooks right here, and one for over here. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually gonna start by leaving it right here and getting the grinder in here and cleaning all this out, getting all this dirt and crap out of here, and I'm gonna try to weave a pass through the front of this and kind of seam it, stitch it back together again. So before we start welding, I want to bring you guys in real close here. So this is the inside of the bucket, and you can see we've got quite the gap here and here, all the way across. This is actually still connected, but barely. But I've got to bridge all this and bridge all that. We're still connected right through here, but we've got a hole there, and we're wearing through right down in this area. This is the worst side. I can only assume that the hydraulic cylinder on this side is stronger than the other one. But I want to bring you around the back and show you what the back looks like before we start welding. And you can see this rolled edge. And you can see where the rod, this is just completely torn through. And this is mostly from back grading. You can see there's this lip forming here. This is real thin. It's gonna blow through when I start welding. But this is completely wore out. So I'm gonna try and bridge the gap. We're gonna see how that goes and try to fill some of this in. But I'm probably gonna just put a piece of plate from here, somewhere right up in this area, down, and then down to the bottom. And covering this whole area up is what I suspect is gonna happen. But so we're using 6013. We're using E6013 just because I have a bunch of this left over. It's real small. I just kinda wanna see how it works. Blew right through. After screwing around for it with a few minutes, I decided to get a piece of flat bar, and we're gonna go ahead and basically put this in here over the top of that and weld it in top and bottom so it's solid on this side. Then we're gonna flip it over, we're gonna grind everything smooth and weld up the backside right to this plate. That'll get me a couple inches out away from this seam. That means I got a lot of grinding to do. Well, they're not the prettiest welds I've ever done, but that's mostly because I was using some 6011 I had left over. It's definitely going to hold, though. That's that reinforcement strip in there and welded on both sides, tied into nice good metal. So at this point, we're going to flip the bucket, get it a lot lower on the ground, and then actually take it off of the tractor so that we can work on the underneath side. So we've got the bucket flipped over. You can see how bad this is. So we are worn through in a lot of places. And I welded here and here a new plate on the inside. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and prepped a bunch of scrap steel I had left over, all this stuff, and we're going to actually weld this stuff across here. But that row is actually going to be right along this seam. And I'm going to take my plasma cutter and I'm actually going to cut just on the inside of that weld, and I'm going to remove this entire thin, worn out piece of metal with all these holes in it. This plate here is the stuff I welded on the inside. I ground all this down. Now we're going to put this piece of flat bar, and we're going to weld it all the way across the bottom, all the way across here and here, and we're going to tie into good metal there and there, and then this will be the new wear plate, and it's going to be pretty dang thick, so I don't think you'll ever wear through this bucket again. Well, this is the bottom of the bucket, and I'm pretty much done with this. As you saw, we welded on the inside a little bit, flipped this thing over, cut out all the bad metal, put in a new piece of, man, this was pretty thick. It's like 1/4 inch, or this will basically be the wear plate on the bottom of this bucket now. So you've got the cutting edge up front, and now this nice wear plate in the back. I suspect that this repair will last longer than any other part of the bucket ever will. I think you'll be pretty happy with that repair. The welds are as good as they're going to get with 6011, but the welds are definitely more than strong. Most of this is 2 passes, if not 3 passes. A lot of the 2-pass stuff is a really strong weave. I did a little bit of buildup down here, but that's going to wrap up the cracked bottom portion of this. Well, this is the bucket, front loader bucket off of a B2150. This thing was 23 years old, and it has seen its better days. Definitely been used pretty hard. He put a tooth bar on there, and got some really good use out of it. But the bottom was completely worn through. It was cracked all the way along, like you guys saw. So we welded a new piece of steel on the inside, flipped it over, cut out the old thinned out metal that was worn through, and then put a reinforcement wear plate on the bottom edge where you really use the bucket to back drag and smooth everything out. Welded all that up, did most of that with, what is it, 6011 to kind of weld through some of the rusty, old crappy metal. I did prep it a little bit, but the 6011 worked really well. Then we did some cover passes with some 7018 to make it look a little prettier. Once we had that repair done, we ended up adding some chain hooks, and when I went to go add the chain hooks, I decided to reinforce a bunch of the welds that were up there. There had been a repair done once in the past. A piece of angle iron was put up behind this thing and welded in. So I reinforced a bunch of that, and then I definitely reinforced where the chain hooks went so that we don't bend the bucket when he goes to use those. The hooks are in line with the loader arms. I think that's probably the best position for them on a bucket like this. And then we put a quick paint job on there. So this thing is repaired and will definitely last the life of the tractor at this point. I can't imagine he'd wear that wear plate out, and the rest of the bucket looks pretty good and is pretty good shape. So for being 23 years old, one minor repair and then this major overhaul on it, it'll definitely last him quite a long time. Definitely hit that subscribe button. It always helps me out in the long run. I'll have my tractor series of videos and the garage series of videos up here. Definitely check those out. Appreciate you guys watching. Until next time.